Okay, so the topics that we'll cover tonight, clearly we tried to cover interpretation, and hopefully that will work for us this evening. It's a first for us. And I see it is necessary to interpret. So thank you, Carla, I see that. Again, we're recording the meeting. We're going to do a land acknowledgement. We're going to get some information, a little bit about Edmonds Elementary. This is primarily a district-wide presentation that we're sharing tonight around health and safety precautions that are going to be taking place at school, and some other bits of information that are important as well. Thank you again. We acknowledge the original inhabitants of this place, the Snohomish people and their successors, the Tulalip tribes, who since time immemorial have taken care of, hunted, fished, and gathered on these lands. We respect their sovereignty, their right to self-determination, and we honor their sacred spiritual connection with the land and water. By acknowledging these homelands, we commit to working with tribal nations to further the education aims they have identified in our classrooms and schools. Welcome. Again, the purpose of this presentation is to provide information regarding what school will look like for in-person learning under the current conditions relating to the pandemic. There will be an opportunity to ask questions at the end. Feel free to type questions in the chat, which may not immediately be addressed or answered, but I will try and answer all of them either tonight or with a follow-up email. One of the most important things to know is that we communicate home regularly. Our newsletter is called The Orca Splash and is available in multiple languages. Just look for the translate button on the right. Please read it to receive regular important school news and updates. It's very important information is coming later this week, in fact, so please watch for it. All right, the first day of school, if we have kindergarten parents present, we talked about this last week, but we have two start dates. The first day of school for first grade through sixth grade is September 8th. That's Wednesday of next week. Again, that's September 8th. Kindergartners actually start a little bit later because they have family connection meetings the 8th through the 10th. So they actually start school on Monday, September 13th. The last day of school is June 24th, 2022. So at Edmonds Elementary, we are what's called an early start elementary. Our class time begins at 8 a.m. and we serve breakfast here starting at 7:30. That's available. The first bell, and when classrooms actually open for students to come in, is at 7:50. So students can arrive at 7:45 and they can come into the courtyard and line up. At 7:50, they can enter classrooms, but at 7:30, they can go into the gym for breakfast if they are eating breakfast at school. During the school day, they have a morning recess, which is about 20 minutes long, a midday lunch, and they get 20 minutes to eat lunch, and then they go to recess for about 30 minutes. 2:30 is the end of our typical school day. Our early dismissal schedule, and we have several dates on the calendar where students are released early, would be 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. So the morning procedure is exactly the same, but the students are let out at 11 a.m. instead. So as far as teacher information, when you're going to get the information regarding your students' class assignments, last week's Orca Splash included a little bit of information on when you would receive that and how to go about doing that. Families will receive notice, and you can see in Skyward starting September 2nd, that's this coming Thursday, there will be a link to Skyward instructions in the Orca Splash, and you can see what your teacher assignments are. So due to the limitations of the pandemic this year, students will meet their teachers for the first time on the first day of school. We have what we like to call a soft start though. And what that means is that the first few days of school, we focus on getting to know each other and learning the school and classroom routines. It's important to us to build strong relationships, which mean we build a strong community in our Edmonds family. We focus on being respectful, responsible, safe, and ready to learn. So I'm showing you a picture of what our classrooms look like during hybrid instruction. They are socially distanced desks, and our classroom setups from here on out will be somewhere around the 3-foot social distancing range, which is a little bit, it's quite a bit closer together, but if you think about what a normal classroom looks like, that's the typical spacing. So when we measured out 3-foot spacing for our classrooms, they looked pretty normal, except for the fact that they're mostly in rows facing the same direction. Okay. So in terms of social distancing, when we arrive and throughout our day at Edmonds Elementary, we have markers throughout the building. We have bubbles, we have blue bubbles and other markers that show students where to stand when they're outside, and arrows to show what direction they should be going. We try to have one-way entries and exits in halls, the cafeteria, and pods as much as possible in order to maintain as much social distancing as we can. We also maintain cohorts throughout the day. We have assigned spaces on the playground, for example, for recess, designated lunch areas. Students eat with their own classes during lunch. These are more examples of the signs that we see, and we teach students what these mean. So we have the doors that we enter and the doors that we do not enter, and we have indoors and outdoors, so to speak. We also have reminders for restrooms. We are limiting numbers in restrooms, for example, and we teach the procedures there during the first week of school. We still have our signs that say keep your distance at 6 feet. Even though it's 3 feet, it's frankly just a good reminder to maintain social distancing. So we still have the markers for places like waiting for the restroom inside. Okay, so our lunchroom is a little bit of a visual. It's hard to picture here, but I wanted to at least capture what we're doing as far as social distancing and lunch, because students are going to be taking off their masks to eat. We have them as close to 6 feet as we can get, spread out, and again in cohort groups. So you'll see we have some distance between what we would have a classroom over here and a classroom over here. We haven't put them on yet. Last year we put little dots that were color coded for our students, but this year we're going to put little Orca stickers where they should be sitting so that it's clear where to sit that is properly social distanced. So our play areas, some of you have probably already seen, but we divide up the play areas and rotate throughout the week so that a specific cohort group has a designated play area, and they are not exchanging, or excuse me, they're not crossing over with other cohort groups. Don't worry about concentrating on this map. I just wanted to show you something that's going to be coming out with some more directions as far as our pickup and drop off area in the lower parking lot. You'll be getting more specific information in the Orca Splash this week, but I do want to let you know that the parking lots will be closed during arrival and dismissal. So as you come in the morning, there aren't going to be parking spaces available. You'll simply need to pull it forward, drop off your child, and we will make sure that they get to the right place, especially our littles. And during pickup, it's actually on the opposite side. We have students line up on the blacktop, and then we send them to a specific car. We have lots of people around to help. Okay. So for the health and safety of everyone in our buildings and on campuses, masks are required both inside and outside. We maintain physical distancing as much as possible. Inside in a classroom when students are wearing masks, it's a 3-foot social distancing. In the cafeteria where, for example, they're going to have their masks off to eat, we try to maintain a 6-foot social distance as much as possible. Or we do have some students who are more immunocompromised or have allergies, and they have a little bit more space between them. So it's not terribly visible to the kids, but they are further apart just because of the layout of the cafeteria. Before arriving at a school or district building, last year we had attestations and you had to fill out a form online. We're not doing the online forms this year, but we do ask that you make sure to check for symptoms and do not come to school if your child should not come to school if they feel unwell at all. So there are links on the video here that will be on our website. So I just want to call attention to the fact that we have the links and that information about Edmonds School District's Health and Safety Handbook for our students, staff, and family is available there. There is also a link in the Orca Splash. And it'll be updated throughout the year with the most current information. We follow the guidance from the Washington State Department of Health and or Snohomish Health District. So we have to pay attention to what their guidelines and recommendations are. So again, last year we had daily health checks that were required online. At this time, we're not doing the digital daily health checks and we're not requiring them of students or staff. We are asking that all families check their students for COVID-19 symptoms prior to arriving at school. And we ask the same of our staff. Staff are expected to do the same exact health check prior to arrival. So this is not an all-inclusive list, but I do want to point out what COVID-19 symptoms are that we're requesting that you look at home. Clearly, a fever is indicative of illness, and your child should not come to school if they have a fever. Cough. Now, there are some other reasons to have a cough, but it's important to pay attention to baseline. So if you have a child like someone in my family, for example, who has asthma, and they have a cough frequently, it would be a change from their baseline, but a cough is a possible symptom of COVID-19. Shortness of breath or difficulty breathing, chills, unusual fatigue, muscle and body aches, new onset of a headache, sore throat, and a big indicator that we've probably all heard about is a sudden loss of taste or smell. Congestion or runny nose that's not related to seasonal allergies. I know I have allergies myself, so I have to pay attention to that. Nausea, vomiting, or diarrhea. These are all possible symptoms of COVID and should be heeded. So in all district buildings, we have routine cleaning procedures and prioritize highly used areas, or what we call high touch areas, and spaces that have a higher risk of generating aerosols or bodily fluids. And by aerosols, we mean that moist breathing air. We have optimal ventilation in our schools. Our HVAC systems have been set to maximize outside air intake, and the filters have been upgraded and changed. They are changed regularly. I think if you happen to be at Edmonds Elementary last year, I actually knew what the names of the filters were. I'm going blank right now, but they are medical hospital grade air filters that are in our systems now. Hand hygiene is a critical mitigation factor. So students and staff are required to wash or sanitize hands upon entering the building, wash and sanitize hands frequently throughout the day. And at Edmonds Elementary, that means after coming in from recess, actually on the way in from recess, before lunch, after lunch, and throughout the day. I'm going to attempt to show the video that we're being requested to show. I hope it works. If it's not, I'm not going to waste your time, but we'll make sure that the link is available to you. And this is something that can be shared with our kids. I'll show you the right one.
One way to stop the spread of germs is to wash your hands. When you get to school, the first thing you would do is wash your hands. Let's talk about the best way to wash your hands. Step 1. Use warm water and soap. Rub your hands really well and make lots of bubbles. Step 2. Wash for 20 seconds. That's like singing happy birthday 2 times. Step 3. Rinse your hands really well. Step 4. Use a paper towel to make sure they're nice and dry. Shut off the water using the paper towel and throw the paper towel away in the bin. Washing hands with warm water and soap is the best. The other option is to use hand sanitizer. There will be several times throughout the day for you to wash your hands or sanitize.
All right, thank you. I hope that worked on your end. It was the first time I think I've gotten a video to work on my end. So the next one is mask wearing. The videos here are directed to our students and families. We also have our own videos that we made. For example, our music teacher, our wonderful Mr. Hendricks, did a video of hand washing where he sings our Edmonds school song, because that helps with the amount of time that a student, or well, anyone should be washing their hands. All right, so again, masks are required both inside and outside. We're going to take a moment to watch the video.
What you need to know about mask wearing at school. Before you leave for school, be sure to grab a clean mask and 2 or 3 extras to keep with you. You'll also need a bag or a container to put your used masks in if they get dirty and wet while you're at school. That's when those extra masks will come in handy. If you forget your mask or run out of clean masks at school, don't worry. Your school will have an extra for you to wear. Now let's talk about the correct way to put on, wear, and remove your face mask. Step 1. Wash or sanitize your hands. Step 2. Hold your mask by the ear loops when you put it on over your ears. Step 3. Make sure it fits well across your face. The mask needs to be over your nose and under your chin and fit snugly around your face. If your mask has an adjustable piece on the nose, pinch it so it fits really well. Step 4. When your mask gets dirty, wet, or it's time to take it off, remove it by the ear loops. Don't touch the front of the mask. That's where the germs are. Place the mask in a container or in a storage bag that you brought from home for safekeeping. If your mask can be thrown away, put it in the garbage. If your mask is the kind you can reuse, be sure to take it home and wash it. Step 5. This is very important. Make sure after you take your mask off that you wash your hands or use sanitizer to wash those germs away.
I love the actor's voice on that, I have to say. Okay. One of the mitigating factors that we have at school is limited access inside the school. So schools are open to students and district staff only. Our campuses are closed to non-school individuals. This includes family and community volunteers, which we miss dearly, I have to say. The main school office is open to family members who have urgent needs. And our front office staff is really super helpful. So please call, email. We are happy to help you in any way that we can. We just have to limit the people on campus. And if you do have to come to campus, please remember everyone on campus needs to wear a mask and follow the social distancing guidelines. Vaccines. So vaccines are required for all school employees, and they're available to anyone 12 years and older at this time. If you're interested in getting a vaccine yourself or for a family member who's 12 or older, then go to the Snohomish Health District's website. You can learn more about the vaccine and how to book appointments. Our district will also have available some vaccine clinics. So watch for communications regarding where to get a vaccine. So one of the things that we have available in schools is that we're able to test students and staff at our school for COVID-19, along with mask wearing, hand washing. Testing is a key mitigation strategy, and it's available in all district schools. So for example, if a student is exhibiting COVID symptoms and we have to remove them, and we call families to pick them up, one of the options with permission is to get a COVID test, because it can go a lot faster especially if a student is negative. We want to get them back in school as soon as possible. If they're positive, we want to make sure that they're safe and well and being cared for. Performing arts. At this time, Washington State Department of Health guidance ensures that all students have access to their chosen performing arts. So for example, our 5th and 6th graders have access to band and orchestra, and we have our general music classes as well. Please see the latest update from the Department of Health on COVID-19 Health and Safety webpage. Again, these links in the presentation will be available to you online as well on our website. All right, school buses. All passengers and drivers are required to wear a mask while on the school bus. Bus stops and route information should be available in Skyward to you at this point. They would have, they started putting those, making that available, on August 23rd. I see a question in the chat about what type of COVID test, and I'm afraid I'm going blank, so I'll have to send out that information to you another time, but I can find that out for you. So a new way to access student bus information is called EduLog. It's a parent portal app. And it's a new way for families to see their students' bus route information and to track changes and updates. The first couple of weeks of school, there's a lot of updates to transportation, and so need to pay extra attention once sometimes the bus numbers change, sometimes the routes change, and so we want to pay particularly close attention during the first couple of weeks, but definitely, checking in, making sure that you have the right bus information for your child. You can download the app to get familiar with the new digital tool, again, on our district website. So there has been an extension for free breakfast and lunch for all students in our district this year. You no longer need to worry about paying for or packing meals for school. Meals are free for all students in our schools for the entire school year. You can also get menu information on our website starting, actually that was starting today. So another piece of information, last year, if you had meals at school, they were what's called grab and go. They were not hot meals. This year at Edmonds Elementary, there will be some hot meals available as well. Hot lunch will be served. If your family is in need of financial support, eligible students and families can complete a free and reduced meal application. And I know that it sounds odd because we have free meals at school this year, but if you fill out that application, it actually provides access to other forms of support. For example, fees, sports fees, reduced cost internet. It also, if we have our families represent what their actual needs are, then we have district supports that can be provided for families in need. So be sure to fill one out if you are eligible. Okay, and applications are available on the district website. There's a link in the Orca Splash as well. Skyward is our system for families to access student educational records and school information. And you can find student grades, attendance information, contact information, bus route information, and a lot of other information that's helpful. In the Orca Splash, I included a Skyward link, and it's a link to our district page with instructions on how to access it as well. Oh, we're hiring. So if you are looking for work or you love kids, we are particularly looking for bus drivers and food service workers. And so on our district website, please check for available jobs. We are hiring. All right. I hope I didn't go too fast. I want to make sure that we get questions answered. And I noticed a couple of questions in the chat that I haven't had a chance to read yet. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and remind you that we are recording the video here, and that if there are any questions that can't be answered this evening, we'll send out information at a later time. Oh, thank you all for coming. Okay, I'm going to go back through the chat, see what I have here. Oh, there was a question about school tours. We actually, again, with a soft start, we actually give all students tours. We take them around the building, show them where the library is, that type of thing. Show them where to line up for class, and really try to connect in that way as well. So thank you for that question. And then I also got the question, I guess I did see this one, about the type of COVID test. And it's not the antibody test. That's about as much as I can tell you at the moment off the top of my head. Okay. And question related to whether you have to be enrolled in the before school program to get the breakfast at 7:30. Students can get the breakfast at 7:30. They do not need to be enrolled in anything before school. We actually haven't had enough families in the before school program for the past couple of years to be able to run it. And so Right at School is the entity that provides daycare before school and after school, so before and after school care, and depending on the number of families and the times that they come. We've had mostly after school care. The mornings, we haven't had as many people sign up, but they offer it, and if we have enough families, it will be available. But anyone who wants to eat breakfast can come and get breakfast at 7:30. Okay, I'm seeing a question related to if a student in a classroom gets a positive case, what happens? And there are a lot of steps associated with that. I would refer you specifically to our COVID safety handbook through the district, but basically there is contact tracing that happens, and we go from there. And yes, it is possible that students can be quarantined. It may or may not be the entire class, depending on the situation with the contact group. Different topic. Are kids bringing their own supplies back and forth from school again this year? They will have their own supplies in the classroom, and they can certainly bring their school supplies back and forth. And it looks like I actually missed 2 slides. I apologize. I have one important slide that was added to our district presentation was related to Chromebooks, and students are to bring their Chromebooks every day. They'll be issued Chromebooks if they don't have one, and they need to bring them every day fully charged. They need to take them home every day. We need to do some sort of remote situation, so in case they need to stay home, or if they get sick, to do something from home as well. So that's one piece, and bear with me a moment while I look at the other one. I hope I included the information. Thank you for your patience as I look for this one. It didn't get saved in there for some reason. Okay. Okay, so the 2 topics were Chromebooks and sort of the learning plan if your student has to be sick. And you think about in a typical school year, if a student has to be sick, they do get to make up work, they'll have work to do. Students would receive assignments to complete at home. And there's a lot more information on the sort of the attendance policies on our district's website. If the Department of Health asks us to have an entire classroom or school quarantine, then we would resort to remote learning again. So that would be that situation. I found my little slides, so I'm going to reshare these just so that I can give you a visual, and it will also have the translation. So again, the learning plan, if your student is out sick, or if we have to isolate or quarantine due to COVID, depending on the situation, where if it's 1 or 2 students, then they would simply receive assignments to complete at home. If an entire classroom or a school needs to be quarantined, then it would be remote learning, which is why we want students to bring their Chromebook home each day and have their Chromebooks charged and ready to go. Thank you again for coming this evening. I'm going back to the chat to look at the questions. Oh, there's a question related to enrolling in before and after school care. Right at School has a blurb that they sent out through Peach Jar, and on our district's website, there are links to the various service providers, but I expect to have a link in our next Orca splash for before and after school care. There's also information going home in the first day packet related to that. So there's a question related to lunch. I had a parent come in a little bit late, so was not able to see the pictures in the cafeteria of socially distancing at about a 6-foot social distance while they're eating with their masks off. They're also not going to be eating in such a way that they're straight across from somebody. And so even if we have to have a student sit on the opposite side of the table, it would not be directly in front. So we're looking at that 6-foot social distancing. This is one area where, being a small school, we're actually pretty lucky. We're able to do a lot more social distancing than in other places. Okay. This is a good question. If a child or children are quarantined, how will they continue to engage in the classroom? So if it's an individual child, the classrooms are not going to be on Zoom simultaneously. It would just be like they would have, homesick for another illness. They would receive assignments to do at home. We still have access to our learning management systems, Seesaw and Canvas, and so it's possible that teachers will utilize that in order for students to access information from class. And what grade levels get Chromebooks? All grade levels. In fact, 1st grade and 5th grade are going to be exchanging their Chromebooks for new Chromebooks the 2nd week of school. And then we are going to be giving our kindergartners Chromebooks as well. So everyone K-12 in Edmonds School District receives a Chromebook. And rules about the number of days missed for school year, going to be more forgiving. The rules actually don't change, but excused absences and illness absences are always taken into consideration in relation to attendance policies. So that's a good question. I have an idea of the number of students per grade level. I don't know off the top of my head, but we have about 260 students in our school total. I don't know if that's helpful to you. Oh, I think I actually got through all the questions. All right. I am going to stop recording at this time, and we have a couple more minutes. If any questions come up that I think others would benefit from, I'll make sure that I try and capture those. But thank you all for coming, and thank you for your questions. I know there's a lot coming. If you are new to Edmonds, I would love it if you would stay, and if you're able to turn your camera off and say hi to me, I would love to be able to see you. Otherwise, thank you for coming, and the official part of our meeting is over.